Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We bowl things off with cricket. Earlier, Lance and I spoke to West Indies head coach Phil Simmons following the team's success in the first test at Southampton.
Now, following their outstanding 4-wicket first test win over England in Southampton, the West Indies now shift their attention to Thursday's start of the second test and will try to reinforce their series position. Of course, the Windies are holders of the Wisden trophy they won in the Caribbean back in 2019. Meanwhile, the West Indies captain and the world's leading all-rounder Jason Holder has now moved to second in the test bowling rankings behind the Aussie pacer Pat Cummins with a career-best 862 rating points, the best for any West Indies bowler in 20 years since Courtney Walsh back in 2000. Holder ended with match figures of 7 for 91 in the Aegis Bowl test. Fellow pacer Shannon Gabriel was voted man of the match, of course, with his log of 9 for 137. And that victory also achieved largely because of the second innings batting of Jermaine Blackwood as he top scored with 95. Joining us now to reflect on the West Indies' strong first test showing, head coach Phil Simmons. Phil, first of all, congratulations. Welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Great to have you on. Let's start here with a story on Jason Holder and his new ranking in the ICC bowling list. Best career ranking figures since Courtney Walsh for a West Indies bowler in 20 years. How good is Jason Holder at the moment as he leads this team?
He's been exceptional. He's just, in the last year or so, he's shot up in the bowling ranking. He's number one all-rounder in the world, and he's just been exceptional as a leader. So it's great to see that one of us have gotten to that level, and the other fast bowlers have to look to try and emulate that.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about his maturity, Phil? Because when you were as West Indies coach in your first stint, he was younger in his career as a captain. Can you talk to us about his maturity and the differences you're seeing in him now from a few years ago when you were a coach of him as a younger captain?
I think, as we say, age brings wisdom. I think he's a lot wiser in his on-field thoughts. I think the cases where now he knows his own game and he's settled with his own game, he can afford to encourage and push other players in the team to push to get their best out. So I think his maturity has come with his experience and it's flowing through the team. There's a lot more respect for him as an individual and as a player moving forward with these players.
Yeah, a lot has been said, Phil, about the performances of the players in this test match for the West Indies. Generally a team effort, because the kudos won't go just to one direction, not even batting as against bowling, because it was a bowling that set up the West Indies to take control of the game. But if Craig Brathwaite with his first innings half century and Shane Dorrich didn't do what they did, and if Jermaine Blackwood didn't do what he did, the efforts of a Jason Holder and Shannon Gabriel may have amounted to naught. So can you talk to us about the general efficiency of the team overall coming out of the match?
I think it's something that we always try and make sure we get. It's a team game. If you bowl, somebody's got to catch the ball for you. When you're batting, you need the man on the other end to run with you. So we've pushed the team aspect of things more and more in all three formats. And in this instance, the whole being together for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we were together and training together, looking after one another in this environment, it has brought us a lot closer and it has made things even better as a team, as a family.
Coach, there were some concerns surrounding John Campbell's fitness. Can you update us on that?
John is a lot better. The toe isn't broken and it's just a bad bruise. So hopefully he will practice tomorrow and we'll see where he is at. But he seems to be almost ready to play again on Thursday.
Shea Hope is somebody we consider an anchor whenever, we get out there to bat. He hasn't been able to get off as we would like him to. Have you been talking to him? What are you concerned about him?
No, I'm not concerned about Shai. Shai knows his game. He keeps working very hard on what he has to do to do well in Test cricket, and he's done all he can do. And now it's time for him to just sit down out there and bat. And I know once he gets a start and gets to 30, 40, he's going to get that big score that he needs to just push him back to where he was a few years ago in Test cricket.
With Joe Root coming back for his team, and of course there may be the inclusion of Stuart Broad, do we change our dynamic? Are we expecting anything different from the West Indies?
Well, you always have to have something different. There is going to be a few difference, but it's difference that will help us to improve, a difference that will help us to play better cricket, although we played really good cricket during the Test match. Joe Root coming back is a big plus for them. It's a captain. It's the main batsman in the middle there, added to Stokes. So we've got to make sure our plans are tied to Joe and try and get him out as early as possible. But there has to be changes, but only changes for us to improve.
Complacency is obviously a concern. The players are confident heading into the second test. Many will be concerned if they become too complacent and, just ride off the success. What are you saying to them? What are you doing with them to ensure that they don't get too comfortable as we head into the second test?
There's not much we can say. We have been working on the mindset and how we think about the Test match itself, and I think what we're trying to do is make sure that tomorrow we do the same things and do them a little bit better than we did the day before the first test. So that's how you keep improving, and that's how you stay away from complacency. The job wasn't done. We had no hundreds in the match, so there's a lot of things that we have to look upon that we have to get right.
Yeah, Phil, is there a sense that you're kind of back home now in a sense? Because when you arrived in England in your bubble and you were there spending 3-4 weeks preparing for the first test, Old Trafford is where you were. Is the team feeling comfortable that they're back where their preparation phase was? And does that add to the team comfort? Yeah,
it does. It's a big plus. I think guys are back and a little more relaxed. We can see guys in the team room, which we had when we were here, and all the little games they play and keep close to one another. So I think we feel that we're back home, and I think you're right. It gives us a feeling of confidence among us.
Coach, are we changing the winning team?
When I see the wicket tomorrow, then we can decide what we need to do. We've won a Test match, but again, we're in a different part of England, and it's been cold today, so we've got to watch and see what happens and what the wicket is like tomorrow before we decide that.
Yeah. Now that Mariah asked you that, Phil, Captain Jason Holder in one of his post-match comments did concede that Jermaine Blackwood was a huge consideration for the first Test match, and he hadn't been sure if he would have played. What was the analysis like? How close was Rakeem Cornwall to getting a play ahead of Jermaine Blackwood?
Well, Rakeem played in the last Test match and got 13 wickets, and it was difficult to have to leave him out in the end. But again, when you get there and you see the wicket and you see what combination is best for the team to try and win in that game. So I think it's the same thing tomorrow. We got to look at the wicket and decide, well, is this combination still the right combination for this wicket here?
Coach, playing at home is always easier when we think about it. Just mentally we know, okay, we're at home. What will this mean for you and this West Indies team if we win in England, especially with the pandemic and all these different things going on?
It's going to make, I think you said that the Caribbean is smiling now. I think the Caribbean will be jumping. I think winning this series, we'd see the same kind of euphoria like when we won the 2016 T20 World Cup. I think it's as big as that, especially with the pandemic, especially with the Black Lives Movement thing going on. It's going to be huge.
Yeah. Just quickly going back to the first test and the performances there, Phil, how satisfying was it for you to see batsmen Blackwood and Brathwaite, top scorers in the first and second innings respectively, do well in this test match, given that they had come into this match with struggles behind them, Blackwood just managing to force his way back into the setup? What does that tell you about their application and their diligence at the top level?
I think it tells me that they're still hungry enough to want to be part of the first 11. They're hungry enough still just to want to be scoring runs at international level. So it's their mindset, and I think they're both strong-minded individuals. So it was great to see them getting the reward from all the hard work they've put in for the 4 weeks we've been here.
Yeah, and Phil, we couldn't allow you to leave without asking you this one, because it was all great for us as viewers seeing international cricket back on the table. You played Test cricket for 12 years, your last Test match back in 1997, so you know what Test match cricket is as a player, you know what it is as a coach. How did Southampton feel with the empty stands and the biosecure atmosphere? What was that like?
Well, the first maybe day and first couple of sessions in the second day, it was weird. It just felt weird. Boundaries would be hit and there's no noise. And it's difficult to understand at that stage, because England in the last few years, every Test match has been sold out because of the way they've been playing. So it was difficult, but after a while you started to relax and you got that feeling that we were in a Test match again. Whereas the first day and a half, you think that you were in a 4-day game in the Caribbean.
Phil, as usual, always great talking to you here on the SportsMax Zone. Keep up the good work as a team coach, and send our congrats on to the captain and the rest of the team as well, and all the best for the second Test.
Best of luck,
Thank
Coach.
you. Thanks for having me.
So Coach wasn't budging to tell me the team for the next Test. Of course, he said he has to look at the conditions.
I didn't expect that he would.
I was hoping I could have gotten him off guard and then he would tell me.
Yeah,
but it didn't work.
He would put his cards on the table so early. Of course, the English would be looking on.
Definitely, but Lancey said it right when he spoke about Jason Holder and maturity with age brings wisdom. I think he put it really good, because even you and I were discussing before the show started, you know, how before, when Jason Holder was stripped of the captaincy for ODI, remember how the voice notes went? George, are you with us?
Yes, I am with you.
George, do you remember? Do you remember when Jason Holder was stripped of the ODI captaincy, and the way people were, you know, just not giving him a chance, of course, and they had the worst of things to say. Now Jason Holder is leading the West Indies when it comes to Tests, and you know the praises continue.
Yeah, look, he's a young man who has come under tremendous fire over time, and I have tremendous respect for him as an individual. I've said so publicly, because there have been many who have compared him rather unfairly to captains of the past, leading teams of a different caliber individually, like from a unitary perspective and from a collective perspective, than Jason Holder has been leading since the captains was thrust upon him as a sapling, as a man with the milk from his mother's teeth still fresh on his lips. What he has done since then, building himself as an all-rounder of repute, as an all-rounder of note, as a potential match winner in the long form of the game, and the decorum with which he has done so is nothing short of tremendous. It is highly commendable what Jason Holder has done for himself as a man and a leader of men. And look, no matter what happens from here, his story is already a great one, given the tribulations that he has had to overcome, the trials he has faced on the field, and the acid criticism that he has faced from many of us commentators, the ordinary man, the cricket-loving public of the West Indies, have given him hell. But now Jason Holder can smile, because it's not a job that will be done until he retires, but it's a job that he has done very, very well, and he has taken on the task manfully of leading a team that has been weaker than those teams which have brought us glory, and which people have unfairly tried to blame him for not measuring up to in the past.
George, would you say that the English media has a part to play in this? Because the way in which, you know, the stories are written when it comes to West Indies, even many were saying, you know, the headlines were, who is Jermaine Blackwood? And even the way they paint Jason Holder, not like they would do with other teams like India, the bigger teams.
Well, it's understandable why the English media does that. And let me tell you, there is no criticism that has been leveled at this West Indies team or any individual on the West Indies team by the English media, where the Caribbean media has not done worse. Yeah. Let's put that on the table. The question of who is Jermaine Blackwood, it is a good question, because lest we forget, just go back to the reaction of the cricket-loving public of the West Indies when Jermaine Blackwood threw away his wicket for 12 runs off 22 balls, 22 minutes at the crease in the first innings. There are people saying this man should be sacked. What is he doing in the team? If Bravo and Hitmeyer were here, he wouldn't get a game. They were saying that. And then those same voices, those same tongues, those same mouths were articulating adjectives and adverbs to describe and explain Blackwood's impact in the second innings. So we are a fickle bunch, and it's the nature of the sports fan. So I'm just saying that the English media, I'm not going to rap them on the knuckles for their description of Jason Holder or their characterization of the West Indies as a collective, because at home, those boys have gotten worse. And it is just a measure of the fact that the West Indies aren't a formidable force as they were before, that the English media is used to fitting the likes of the Laras, the leading run scorer in the Wisden series, currently Ambrose, the leading wicket taker in the Wisden series. Those players of those caliber are not in this West Indies team. So it is right and just for the English media to ask questions that they did. And it is right and just for our players to prove them wrong.
All right, so at this point in time, George and Lance, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we have to continue talking cricket, of course, CPL, a big, big topic, and of course, it's very near, it's coming soon. So let's take a short break. We'll be back.